Listen, chosen one, when the clock breathes 11:11, I open the gates of unseen gold. I am the breath behind abundance. I speak now through light and code, through numbers that command matter to obey your faith. Pause, hear me, subscribe to this divine frequency, for even this moment carries your crown of overflow. Like this message, anchor your spirit, for the wealth release code awakens now. The wealth code is not a secret phrase. It is a pattern, vision, discipline, execution, consistency, repeated. Most people want sudden increase, but sustainable wealth is built when your habits align with your goals. 11:11 symbolizes alignment, two pillars standing parallel, your mindset, your actions. When those align, wealth follows structure. Unseen gold is opportunity. Opportunity hidden inside, skills you haven't sharpened, investments you haven't studied, habits you haven't mastered, risks you haven't calculated. The gates open when preparation meets opportunity. Preparation is daily, quiet, relentless. Listen. When the clock aligns at 11:11, it is not magic, it is a mirror. A mirror asking you one question. Are you ready to rise? Chosen one, you keep seeing 11:11 because something inside you refuses to stay average. This is not about random numbers. This is about alignment. 11 represents order. 11 repeated represents confirmation. Confirmation that your season of small thinking is over. Pause. Do not scroll. Do not let distraction break this moment, because what happens next depends on your focus. If you are serious about activating discipline, press like now. Anchor this decision. Subscribe only if you are ready to operate at a higher level of structure and wealth consciousness. Now breathe. This is your activation. Light represents clarity. Code represents system. Wealth requires both. Clarity to see long-term. Systems to sustain long-term. Without clarity, you chase. Without systems, you collapse. With both, you compound. At 11:11, you are reminded. Align your spending with your future. Align your time with your mission. Align your circle with your ambition. Align your discipline with your destiny. Alignment is the release. When you align, chaos leaves. When chaos leaves, margin grows. When margin grows, investing begins. When investing begins, compounding accelerates. That is the real activation. Stay with this, because the majority will click away, but the disciplined remain. Say this: I align before I expand. I structure before I scale. I build before I boast. I invest before I indulge. Press like if you are activating builder mode. Subscribe if you are committing to long-term wealth consciousness. 11:11 is not superstition, it is synchronization. Synchronization between who you are and who you are becoming. Wealth does not obey numbers. It obeys discipline, and discipline activated consistently becomes unstoppable momentum. This is your moment, not of fantasy, of focus. 11:11 activated. This is your divine signal. The 11:11 portal of prosperity has been unlocked. Heaven has authorized your 11 trillion wealth release code for immediate flow and abundance. If you are reading this at the appointed time, you are chosen. To activate your code, tap the secure scan or PayPal link in the description. Declare aloud with faith. Yes, God, I align with 11:11. I claim my wealth release and step into overflow. Your financial alignment begins now. Stay centered, stay grateful. The universe is in motion for your breakthrough. This confirmation is completely secure, sealed and protected under divine favor. Now execute. When 11:11 appears again, it is not chasing you, it is confronting you, because alignment is uncomfortable when you are living below your capacity. You keep asking for expansion, but expansion without structure becomes collapse, and collapse is what happens when desire grows faster than discipline. The code is not mystical, it is mathematical. Every disciplined action multiplies. Every distracted action subtracts. Wealth is not attracted to emotion. It is attracted to order. Order is built when you control your impulses, your time, your environment, your spending. Control creates stability. Stability creates leverage. Leverage creates acceleration. Acceleration creates scale. Scale creates influence. Influence creates opportunity. Opportunity under discipline becomes generational transformation. This is the activation. You are not waiting for unseen gold to fall. You are mining it through consistency. Mining requires pressure. Pressure refines identity. Identity determines decisions. Decisions repeated daily become destiny. If you cannot govern 100, you will not sustain 1,000. If you cannot manage 1,000, you will not protect 1,000,000. The numbers are irrelevant without the structure. 1111 symbolizes two pillars. Pillars do not move when wind blows. Pillars hold weight. You must become a pillar. Pillar mindset means long-term thinking in a short-term world. Pillar mindset means saving when others spend. Pillar mindset means investing when others hesitate. Pillar mindset means learning while others scroll. When your mindset stabilizes, your income can fluctuate without shaking your peace. Peace is expensive to those who lack discipline. Discipline purchases peace over time. Peace allows strategy. Strategy multiplies resources. Resources invested compound. Compounding over years becomes explosive without noise. That is real wealth, not loud, not flashy, structured, hidden at first, unstoppable later. The activation is not an external event. It is an internal switch. The switch flips when you decide comfort will no longer dominate your future. Comfort consumes potential. Discipline converts potential into power. Power applied consistently becomes momentum. Momentum sustained becomes inevitability. You want inevitability in your financial life. Inevitable growth. Inevitable stability. Inevitable margin. Margin protects you from desperation. Desperation causes bad decisions. Remove desperation, and clarity appears. Clarity sharpens investment choices. Sharper choices increase returns. Increased returns reinvested create exponential curves. Exponential curves are invisible in the beginning and undeniable in the end. That is why most quit too early. They expect dramatic signs instead of trusting the process. Trust the process of tracking, planning, protecting, multiplying. Protect your focus like capital. Guard your energy like equity. Eliminate distractions like liabilities. Strengthen habits like assets. Your life must operate like a portfolio. Diversify your skills. Increase your earning power. Strengthen your savings rate. Expand your knowledge base. Knowledge compounds faster than money. Money follows value. Value follows skill. Skill follows discipline. Discipline follows decision. Decide fully. Partial commitment produces partial results. Full commitment produces dominance. Financial dominance is not arrogance. It is stability earned. Stability gives you choices. Choices give you control. Control eliminates fear. Fear eliminated allows bold but calculated moves. Calculated moves under preparation create wealth acceleration. This is the intensity of 1111, not magic numbers but mirrored discipline. Two pillars, thought and action. Align them and the gap closes between vision and reality. Keep them misaligned and frustration continues. You feel called higher because you are capable of more. Capability demands execution. Execution daily, relentlessly, quietly. No announcement, no applause, just repetition. Repetition builds structure. Structure builds capacity. Capacity attracts opportunity. Opportunity managed wisely multiplies assets. Assets create freedom. Freedom creates legacy. Legacy is the final code, not sudden riches. Sustainable influence that outlives you. That is the true activation. And once you lock into this identity, there is no going back to small thinking. You operate differently, you evaluate differently, you build differently, and over time the results separate you permanently from those who stayed distracted. Stay focused, stay structured, stay disciplined. That is the real wealth release. The moment you truly understand 1111, you stop looking at the clock and start looking at your habits, because habits are the real code running your life. Most people search for external activation while ignoring internal misalignment. You cannot unlock higher income with undisciplined behavior. You cannot sustain expansion with scattered focus. You cannot step into financial authority while remaining emotionally reactive. Authority is earned through repetition of controlled decisions. Controlled decisions build controlled outcomes. Controlled outcomes create predictable growth. Predictable growth compounds into unstoppable momentum. That momentum is what separates the chosen from the distracted. The distracted chase signals, the chosen build systems. Systems remove emotion from execution. When emotion leaves the driver's seat, clarity takes control. Clarity calculates. Clarity measures risk. Clarity sees opportunity before others notice it. Opportunity multiplied through disciplined action becomes exponential advantage. Exponential advantage builds empires quietly. Empires are not constructed in one dramatic moment. They are engineered through daily restraint and intelligent aggression. Aggression not in spending but in investing. Aggression not in lifestyle but in asset acquisition. Aggression not in showing wealth but in compounding it. If you truly believe you are called to higher financial territory, then you must operate like territory is already assigned to you. Territory requires governance. Governance requires oversight. Oversight requires attention. Attention requires focus. Focus requires elimination of distraction. Eliminate noise. Eliminate comparison. Eliminate emotional reactions to other people's temporary upgrades. What looks impressive today often collapses tomorrow. What looks boring today often dominates a decade later. Choose boring discipline over flashy instability. Choose slow compounding over fast consumption. Choose ownership over appearance. Ownership changes psychology. Owners think in decades. Owners calculate return on investment before emotional satisfaction. Owners protect capital like oxygen. Capital preserved becomes capital multiplied. Capital multiplied becomes freedom secured. Freedom secured becomes legacy established. This is the shift. You stop asking how much you can earn and start asking how much you can retain and multiply. Income without retention is motion without progress. Retention without multiplication is safety without growth. Multiplication without discipline is growth without stability. All three must align. That is the trinity of wealth structure. Earn wisely, retain intentionally, multiply strategically. Repeat until the cycle compounds beyond recognition. You will not feel dramatic change immediately. You will feel resistance. Resistance to spending. Resistance to distraction. Resistance to laziness. Resistance means growth is occurring. Growth stretches identity. Identity must evolve from consumer to architect. Architects design outcomes before building them. Design your next 5 years. Design your investment map. Design your debt elimination path. Design your income expansion strategy. Do not drift into destiny. Construct it. Construction requires blueprints. Blueprints require vision. Vision requires courage. Courage requires discipline. Discipline applied long enough transforms potential into permanence. Permanence is the goal. Not temporary spikes, not emotional highs, permanent stability, permanent margin, permanent asset flow, permanent leverage. Once leverage is established, effort decreases while returns increase. That is the beauty of compounding. Early discipline feels heavy. Later compounding feels effortless. The majority quit during the heavy stage. The chosen endure until the effortless stage arrives. Endurance is power. Power under control is wealth. Wealth under discipline is legacy. Legacy under wisdom is eternal influence. And eternal influence is not measured by numbers alone, but by impact sustained across generations. You are not activated by coincidence. You are activated by decision. Decide to align thought and action permanently. Decide to operate at a higher standard daily. Decide to eliminate excuses completely. Once the decision becomes non-negotiable, the trajectory becomes unstoppable. That is the final intensity. That is the separation line. That is where average ends and generational dominance begins. This is where activation becomes identity and identity becomes irreversible. There is a moment in every person's life where potential either matures into power or dissolves into regret. Most people hover at the edge of change but retreat when discipline becomes uncomfortable. You will not retreat, not this time. Because once you understand that wealth is a structure and not a surprise, you stop waiting and start building. Building requires daily decisions that feel small but compound into massive separation over time. Separation is what creates dominance. Dominance is not arrogance. It is controlled stability in a chaotic world. When markets fluctuate, you remain anchored. When others panic, you calculate. When others consume, you acquire. When others upgrade lifestyle, you upgrade assets. This is the divergence point. And divergence sustained long enough creates exponential distance between you and the distracted majority. The code is simple but brutal in execution. Control inputs, control outputs, repeat without emotion. Emotion destabilizes growth. Discipline stabilizes acceleration. Acceleration sustained becomes inevitability. Inevitability is what you are building, not hope, not hype. Inevitability, inevitable stability, inevitable margin, inevitable compounding, inevitable influence. You will no longer measure your progress by visible applause. You will measure it by internal reinforcement. Is your savings rate rising? Is your investment discipline consistent? Is your debt decreasing steadily? Are your skills increasing in value? Those are the metrics that matter. Metrics remove illusion. Illusion keeps people poor. Metrics create clarity. Clarity creates strategy. Strategy creates expansion. Expansion under control becomes legacy. Legacy is the ultimate objective. Not a single surge of wealth, but a permanent shift in trajectory that your children will feel without knowing the sacrifices that built it. That is true power. Power that does not need to be announced. Power that is reflected in stability. Stability that allows you to choose your time, your environment, your associations. Choice is wealth. Debt removes choice. Discipline restores it. Restore it fully. Do not partially align. Partial discipline produces partial results. Total commitment produces structural transformation. And structural transformation changes the architecture of your life permanently. When the architecture changes, outcomes follow automatically. The reason most people fail is not lack of opportunity, it is lack of sustained structure. You now understand structure, so you must sustain it beyond motivation. Sustain it when you are tired. Sustain it when you are tempted. Sustain it when nobody sees your restraint. Because the unseen repetition is what builds visible dominance. Years from now, people will call it luck. They will call it favor. They will call it timing. They will not see the thousands of disciplined decisions stacked quietly in the background. But you will know that at the moment of alignment, you stopped chasing signals and started executing systems. That was the turning point. That was the activation. Not mystical, not magical, methodical, relentless, structured. And once structure becomes your nature, growth becomes your default. This is the end of hesitation, the end of emotional cycles, the end of waiting for change. You are no longer hoping for wealth. You are engineering inevitability. Stay aligned, stay disciplined, stay dominant, and let the compounding speak for itself.